What's up, guys? So today, just wanted to talk about something that's close to me, Christian movies. Christian movies are a thing that doesn't always go so well. So a lot of times they come out cringy, very preachy, and part of this is because it's not filmmakers making these movies. It's pastors making these movies. And pastors aren't filmmakers. Pastors are great. I have pastors in my family. Pastors do what they do for a reason, and they're great at their job usually. And nothing against pastors at all, obviously, but they just don't make movies, you know? They need to hire legit filmmakers to make these movies. I think there's good and bad examples of Christian movies. Bad example is God's Not Dead. I know, if you are somebody that personally knows me, you probably strongly disagree with this hot take. Well, not even a hot take. This is a take that, in the Christian community, many people love and adore this film. In the filmmaking community, well, the Christians in the filmmaking community, they hate this film. This is a film that comes out way too preachy. All the film is about a debate. And it's a debate, is God dead? Hence the film name, God's Not Dead. But, I don't know, this film, it starts off alright, I guess. I saw this film maybe 4th grade, maybe 3rd grade, I don't know. But I loved it when I first watched it. That was before I really became, really into film, and that was before I had Letterboxd. That was before I started collecting my DVDs. And I just did not know the logistics of film and how bad quality this movie is. This movie, I want to estimate the budget. Do not quote me on this because this is not the budget. I would say it was probably made with $5 million, which isn't a lot. But it's enough that you can hire legit people to do this movie, you know? The main guy in this movie, Kevin Sorbo, he was in Good Luck Charlie, which don't ask me how I know that, because I have some history with that show too. I think those are the only 2 things I've ever seen him in, because I haven't watched any of the God's Not Dead sequels, and I don't plan on watching any of the God's Not Dead sequels. God's Not Dead comes off really preachy, like I said. It's all about a debate. Is God real? Or is God dead or not? And so it's between a student and a college professor, and the college professor believes in the Big Bang, Charles Darwin. What this movie doesn't mention is that Charles Darwin later in his life became a Christian. Just a little fun fact there. After developing the Big Bang, I don't remember if he developed the theory of the Big Bang or not, but I know he developed the theory of evolution. After he created that theory, he became a Christian, which is really interesting, and that's a thing a lot of people don't mention about Charles Darwin. But this professor is very pushing atheism, and I don't know why. One thing this movie has a problem of is throwing down atheists and bringing up Christians like Christians are better than atheists. Christians have flaws. This movie does not show that at all. Christians have so many flaws. Christians are sinners, just like atheists. And atheists might not believe in the gospel, but sometimes they can be better people than Christians. It's a hard truth that a lot of people don't like taking. But these atheists in this movie are treated like scum. Or they're treated like, they act like they're so much better than everybody else. And they know so much more than everybody else. And in the end of the movie, spoiler alert, the atheist professes the faith and then dies. Yeah, he dies. In a Christian movie, he dies. And I don't know, it was really out of place. And this guy showed no sign of turning away from atheism, and just randomly had a death incident and a pastor walked by and was like, "Do you profess your faith in Jesus Christ?" And the guy's like, "Yes." It's like, that's one, not usually how professing your faith in Jesus Christ works. Maybe it is for somebody out there, I don't know, but that does not sound like a genuine profession to faith. Or confession to faith, I don't know. But it's just so cringe, and this movie, they go to a Newsboys concert, because of course they do, because it's called God's Not Dead, and it never treats the Christian characters flawed, which Christian people are flawed, which, like I said a minute ago. It's just, that's one of the big problems of Christian movies in this world. The next movie I'm going to be talking about is The Prince of Egypt. The Prince of Egypt is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. It's such a good movie. I can't even explain how good of a movie it is. Just the art in this movie. You can feel the passion behind the animators in this movie, which is crazy coming from an animated movie, which some people claim animation is awful, animation is not true cinema, whatever that crap is. Animation is art. That's what it is. It is art through cinema and all that junk. But this movie is amazing. It is flawed. It adds to the Bible. It adds things that aren't directly in the Bible, which are some of the problems I have with this movie. But the music in this movie, oh my gosh, Hans Zimmer was literally on steroids during this movie. It's so freaking good. It's crazy. And they got, I think most of the cast is atheistic, which is interesting that they cast atheists for this movie, because it's Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer stars in this movie. He plays Moses, and he plays God, which is just a little sacrilegious, but the guy from Top Gun plays God. But that's just a personal opinion of mine, and it doesn't really hold too much back from this movie. But Steve Martin and Martin Short are in this movie, and I don't think they're Christians. They might be, I don't know. And the guy that played Voldemort is in this movie, Ralph Fiennes. I hope that's how you say that name. I'm gonna sound really stupid if it's not. But he's in this movie. But this movie is so great, guys. This movie is cinema. This is why animation is so good, is this movie. And I think it was first criticized when it first came out. It wasn't a big success. Oh, I forgot to mention, this was not made by a Christian company. This was made by DreamWorks, which was started by Steven Spielberg, who is a Jew, not a Christian. Nothing against Jews at all. Nothing against Steven Spielberg. He is my favorite director of all time. I have my E.T. Funko Pop up there, and I have a Steven Spielberg magazine back here somewhere. And so I just think it's interesting that DreamWorks, of all companies, made this movie, and not, I don't know, some underground company. I don't think there were a ton of Christian movies being produced at this time. Before this time, though, there was The Ten Commandments, there was King of Kings, there was Ben-Hur, there was also another movie, is The Passion of the Christ. The Passion of the Christ is a very emotional driven movie, and it retells the story of Jesus going to the cross and all of that. Everything that led up to Jesus going to the cross and Jesus on the cross. And it gets a little bit into the resurrection. Apparently they're making a sequel to The Passion of the Christ, which it's been over 20 years, I think. I think that movie came out in 2004. Don't fact check me on that. Wait, actually. Alexa, when did The Passion of the Christ come out?
The film The Passion of the Christ was released on February 25th, 2004.
I got that right. That's crazy. Okay. It stars Jim Caviezel. I think that's it. Yeah. He was in The Count of Monte Cristo, which is another movie I really enjoy, which is not a Christian movie, but it's a good movie. You should go watch it. It is directed by Mel Gibson. You know, the guy from Braveheart, Signs. Mel Gibson directed The Passion of the Christ. Don't ask. I don't know. Apparently he was Catholic at the time. I don't know if he still is or not. But, he just felt compelled to make this movie. And I understand why many people love this movie. And at a time, I did love this movie too. Here is my main problem with this. A lot of people will disagree with this, but I think this movie goes against the second commandment in the Bible, which is, the first commandment and the second commandment. Really, it's, you shall have no other gods before me, and you shall have no idols. And so the first one is, you shall have no other gods before me, which kind of, if you look at it as facts, and this movie could show, if you truly see this movie as gospel, as part of the Bible, you might think of Jim Caviezel as Jesus Christ. Like, you don't want to show, I personally don't like representing an actor as Jesus Christ, because this guy, one, is getting paid to do this, and two, seeing him, like, if you're just imagining Jesus in your head and seeing him, it's kind of weird, and it kind of is an idol, almost, of sorts. That's the only real problem I have with this movie, and the fact that it's in the original Greek language, I think, is what this movie is in, and you just have to read subtitles. You really have to pay attention to watch this movie, and it is, like I said, a very emotional-driven movie, and it's a tearjerker, I will say that. But another problem I have with this movie, and just other Christian movies in general, that try telling not Christian historicals, like the movie Luther, which is about Martin Luther. I don't mind that movie. It's retelling the Bible, and this is part of what I have with The Prince of Egypt, in a fictitious way, and people see this as truth. The Chosen is like this. People see The Chosen as truth, and this is just a depiction of what happened in the Bible. This isn't truth. They add stuff to this to make it more engaging, because apparently the Bible's not engaging enough. I don't know. But they add stuff to make it more interesting, to make it more plot-driven, and it just takes away from the legit gospel of the Bible, you know? And that's just one problem I have with these movies, and that's the main problem I have with a lot of these movies. Besides God's Not Dead, which is just a bad movie, nothing else to it, it's just a bad movie. Last one I really wanted to mention was Narnia. C.S. Lewis wrote the Narnia books, he was an atheist for most of his life, I'm pretty sure, until J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion, I think that's how you say that, just those, you know those. If you know anything about films or books, you should know those. If you haven't seen those movies, you should definitely watch those. I'm surprised you haven't seen those movies. So J.R.R. Tolkien, I think he confessed his faith to Lewis. Don't fact check me on this. I don't often get my historical events fully correct, but I think this is how the story goes. I'm pretty sure J.R.R. Tolkien witnessed to C.S. Lewis, and C.S. Lewis became a Christian, and he went on to write many Christian literature, not just fantasy novels, not just the Narnia novels, all Christian literature, stuff that you read as like devotions and stuff could be written from C.S. Lewis. So he made the Narnia movies, or not the movies, the books, obviously. He lived in the 1900s, not the 21st century. he, like I said, he wrote the Narnia books, but he did not originally write them as allegory. If you did not know this, Narnia is allegory for the gospel. Aslan, I think, is supposed to represent Jesus, I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, it's just all allegory. And so C.S. Lewis did not originally plan to write them as allegory. He had a vision, and it was of a lamppost, snowing, and a fawn with an umbrella. That is what started Narnia, not allegory. And he just started writing it, and the allegory kind of just appeared. Almost. I think that's how the story goes. It kind of just appeared. And he said, we need less Christian literature and more Christians writing literature. That is a quote by C.S. Lewis. And he said this because Christian literature is good, obviously, but Christians writing literature can really influence the world. If you think all the influence that the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit have had, Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit are partial allegory also. They're not as direct as the Narnia books, but they are also allegory. And J.R.R. Tolkien, who was a Christian, wrote these. And J.R.R. Tolkien is somebody that a lot of people are influenced. J.K. Rowling was influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien. Some of the greatest writers in modern day, some of the greatest filmmakers in modern day are influenced specifically by J.R.R. Tolkien, who was a Christian writer. They are also influenced by C.S. Lewis because he wrote Narnia. And C.S. Lewis, like I said, was a Christian writer. And these are just things that I think could possibly help improve the film industry. What needs to happen is more Christians need to start making films. Not just Christian films, not films like God's Not Dead. Maybe not even films like this movie, Luther. Luther is a movie about Martin Luther, like I mentioned, and it depicts what happened. Maybe not even movies like this. We need more movies like these. This is what we need. Stuff about Christians that atheists can watch and enjoy and have fun with, and stuff that can help influence them to become Christians. Thanks for watching this. That was just a little bit of a rant before Easter, you know. At the time of filming this is Good Friday. I just felt like talking about this because this is a subject that's near to me, because, like I said, God's Not Dead put a really bad taste in my mouth, and I don't agree with everything a lot of these movies say, which, like I said with The Prince of Egypt, it's not all biblical, and some people take what is in that movie as fact when it is not entirely fact. One thing I think that could improve these movies is if before them they say this is based on true events. Just think about that. If you are a filmmaker and a Christian, think about how not just trying to make specific Christian movies, but movies with Christian themes that are just good movies, you know, like The Prince of Egypt or Narnia. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Brother, let me be your